What's up, everybody? Curtis Wilkerson and Andrew Ellis with Inside Arkansas here for your Pot at the Palace post-game show. Following Arkansas's 92-62 win over Oakland. Style points, believe it or not, even after that first half, I think Arkansas actually got them in this game. The Razorbacks followed their script for the most part of being, kind of sluggish in the first half, and then looking like a completely different team after the break. They put Oakland away in this one, and this does not erase what happened to John Calipari and Adu Theroux and DJ Wagner and Big Z against Oakland last year. But there's something to be said, dadgummit, for getting your lick back, Andrew, and Arkansas did that tonight. What do you think, buddy?
Well, first of all, I disagree. I think it does actually right the wrong. Especially, how about this, Arkansas fans? It doesn't right the wrong because that happened in Kentucky. That didn't happen to you. And so I guess that's one thing Arkansas can shove in BBN's faces. Maybe Coach Cal's coached 2 games against Oakland in the year 2024. He won 1 and he lost 1. I'm not going to point out which team, but
we need a John Neighbors graphic immediately. Get a John Neighbors graphic.
I mean, I'm just saying, the stats don't lie. But no, Curtis, I actually said earlier today on our show Inside Arkansas Live, I said, if Arkansas wins by 20 or more, I'm not about to complain about anything. I'm going to be pumping sunshine. And for a while, Curtis, I thought that it was going to fall in that range where they'd end up winning by 20, but I would still be kind of annoyed until where I'd have to kind of like help myself and be like, I don't know. But that second half was so fun.
Yes.
And dominant. I mean, thoroughly dominant. I mean, belt to ass, like you read about. I was really impressed with the way that Arkansas kind of responded there. You could tell early on there that it was the first game after Christmas, first game after a long layoff. And we've seen this Arkansas team follow this formula, the first half formula, a lot. And Curtis, here's the thing we say a lot. We say, oh, man, if Arkansas is going to be good, they got to get Jonas Adu going. If Arkansas is going to be good, they got to get Nelly Davis going, or they got to get Carter Knox going. And all these things are true to an extent. Boogie Fland, I feel like, is the only guy that is a real must. Obviously, you need all of your players to play well if you're going to reach your ceiling as a team. But in Boogie Fland's worst moments as a player, Arkansas has struggled the most this season. Yep. And I feel like the first and second half, I mean, you got maybe the worst half he's played all year, and you're up by 3 against Oakland, and then maybe the best half anyone's played all year, and all of a sudden you look like the freaking Showtime Lakers out there, man. It was just unreal, and he brings such a spark to this team. I mean, it's either him or Adu Theroux is the best player on the team, but I feel like Boogie sets the tone for everybody. And I feel like the second half, he was simply the difference. He took his game to another level, and everyone really played well, especially Arkansas's backcourt. I feel like they did a good job mixing around. You saw a bunch of Carter Knox, shout out to him. But I feel like Boogie Fland really is the catalyst for this Arkansas team. I'm not breaking any news here, but it was really good to see him turn it on, because I was prepared to come here and do the whole, man, Boogie's got to play better if this team's going to win an SEC play, blah, blah, blah. I think he showed you tonight the full range of what he can do and just how valuable he is to this Arkansas team.
Yeah, man, as Boogie goes, Arkansas goes. I even took in my my report card notes. At one point, he came out for a rotation there in the first half for a few minutes. And, at the time, obviously he wasn't playing that well. And I even put in my notes that, actually, I'll read it to you. Boogie Fland not doing shit, but Arkansas is so much better with him on the floor. That's what I wrote. And it's just true. Even when he's not playing his best, Arkansas is just way better when he's out there. When he is playing their best, they're really, really good. So, 0 of 6 for Boogie in the first half. Had 1 point, and then he scores 21 in the second half. And he winds up, after all that, just incredibly efficient at the end of the game. 8 of 15 from the field, so over 50%, 5 of 8 from 3. And the 3 ball had not been looking good for like the last 3 halves of basketball that he played. Look, I was wondering if his wrist was hurt for a second there, and he starts knocking it down, and then just a casual, 6 assists and 0 turnovers. He's just doing what he does. So, that was really, really impressive. It changed everything for Arkansas. They did a pretty good job of closing the first half after they hit a streak there where they were turning it over. I think they went like 6 minutes and got like 4 shots or something. It was crazy with the turnovers there, but got out of there with the lead. And then they just got it under control real quick. That by the first media timeout in the second half, it was a double-digit lead. And to their credit, they didn't look back. So a really nice job. I thought the game plan for Arkansas was pretty clearly to try to run Oakland off of the 3-point line, which we can argue whether or not that was a choice since they're shooting 28% from three, but I get it. And they paid for it in the paint. Arkansas did, but they were better from that regard too in the second half. So, they got to do a better job getting out of the gates, but man, you couldn't close the game any better than they did. And they didn't take their foot off the gas, which I really appreciate, because we've seen in some of these games where they get up 20, they get up 25, they got 8 to 10 minutes left. And then they just really coast down the stretch. They did not do that. In fact, they turned a game that was about 15 points to 30. And that's exactly what we're talking about at the top of the show, but we've talked about a lot. Style points, baby. You got to have them in this SEC. Arkansas is going to get a little bump in their net ranking for doing what they did tonight. And I'm just really impressed with that second half, man. They wind up shooting 60% from the game, 10 of 22 from three. That's 45% without John L. Davis in there, mind you. So it's good to see that kind of volume and made threes without, one of your better 3-point shooters in there. Made their free throws. Good job. Things to work on. Even in a 30-point win, we can say if you run into mid-major post players that look like NFL defensive ends, that might be your kryptonite. But outside of that, it was a pretty good performance there.
Yeah, I remember being very surprised when you told me that Oakland was actually one of the worst 3-point shooting teams in the country, which, by the way, they looked at tonight. I believe they finished 2 of 17. That ain't good. But yeah, you're right. It did seem like in the first half, Cal's like, y'all ain't about to get me again, because obviously Golke busted them for 40, and they gave up a ton of threes in that game. And with Arkansas's 3-point defense at times this year popping up, especially in their most recent loss to Illinois, was obviously a huge issue. So I think a lot of fans kind of do. We always, as Hog fans, are looking for like the obvious. John Neighbors is good at this, predicting like the obvious way it's going to go wrong for Arkansas. I think a lot of fans had that like 3-point, they're just going to give up 10 threes to some white guy. That white kid that was playing for Oakland, not Jack Golke. But yeah, Arkansas in the first half, 30 points in the paint by Oakland. 30 points in the paint. They also only turned Oakland over 5 times as well. And I believe Oakland was like 1 of 5, 1 of 6, of course, not hitting their threes. But that is a tough combination. You're running off the 3-point line and they're just getting whatever they want in the paint. And I think if there's a red flag that popped up for me from this game for Arkansas, and it's, again, it was one half of play. They corrected a lot of these issues in the second half. But I do kind of wonder, Curtis, Arkansas's 3-point defense has gotten a lot better since that Illinois game, of course. But of course, that's something that you kind of know in the back of your mind, hey, they might face a team that can really shoot from outside and they might be in trouble. Also, what's Arkansas going to do when they can't disrupt teams defensively? Because that's one thing Arkansas's backcourt has been pretty consistent about all year, is forcing turnovers, forcing mistakes by their opponents. And this team is so good in transition tonight. I feel like that was what really helped them avoid any weirdness in that first half, is they were so good in transition. But I do kind of wonder about this team. I'm like, man, if they're not able to stifle other teams out on the perimeter and force some of those turnovers and force some of that action, are they going to be in trouble defensively? It was good to see them clean up some of those mistakes. And again, I thought Arkansas's front court was a lot better in the second half, specifically Jonas Adu on the defensive end. And Trevin Brazil, you told me right before we went live, he had 6 blocks. That's a lot. I remember a couple of real highlight blocks there. Even Ivisic had a few nice plays defensively around the rim. Trevin Brazil has more blocks away from the rim than like any post player I think I've seen in a while. Like he's had some real highlight blocks out there around the 3-point line. But the one thing, Curtis, we can talk about the intricacies of the matchups and, areas Arkansas struggled. What I really appreciate about this Arkansas team is they feel like a group that they play confidently. There's a quiet confidence about them, but it seems like a group of adults that just kind of know when to do what they need to do. DJ Wagner, nobody epitomizes that more than DJ Wagner. He's the ultimate. It's time for me to do something good. Let me go here and just knock down a corner 3. Or let me go ahead and get out and run and make a nice pass. Boogie Fland has done a really good job. Obviously, in the second half, he knew he needed to bring it. But I think that's what gives me a little bit of comfort about this Arkansas team as we head into SEC play. Always going to be things we can talk about. Always going to be things they can improve. But it does seem like a group that's pretty self-aware and kind of knows, all right, hey, we really got to tighten up. When they know they need to fix something, they're usually pretty good about getting it fixed. And once again, I know a lot of people have pointed it out. Credit John Calipari, who just seems to consistently find the exact second half adjustments. Sure, it's easier said than done. It's easier to do when you're just better than your opponent. And Arkansas has been better than a lot of their opponents here lately. But I do. It's something that I can appreciate, is that this team seems to correct its mistakes more often than not. And that's a good sign for this team as we get into real SEC play.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I think so. It's pretty interesting to look at this at the end of like coming into the game. Oakland averaging 64 points a game. They had 39 at halftime. I was like, man, are they really going to give up like 80 to this team? No, they didn't. Held them under their average. They shoot, 40% from the field on the season. They shoot 40% in this game. And then, a bad 3-point shooting team shoots the three poorly. So like when you look at it big picture, Arkansas kind of wound up doing everything that they were supposed to do. It just didn't happen over the course of a full 40 minutes. It was just an emphatic half. I'm okay with that. Arkansas gets through this non-conference slate, 11-2. They are trending in the right direction. They're not a flawless team. They've still got holes that they've got to figure out, as do a lot of teams. I mean, South Carolina nearly lost to Presbyterian tonight. Georgia nearly lost to South Carolina State yesterday. Coming off of these Christmas breaks where, your schedule gets disrupted, you're traveling, you have a few days away, you come back, you do some conditioning, you get back out there. It's easy to come out flat. And Arkansas did that, but they responded the right way. But it's not a problem that's unique to them. Here's one thing I'll point out, and because a lot of people were talking about, well, why they just need to play faster. Why aren't they playing faster? Why is the tempo not? I get it. Like Arkansas is at its best when they're playing fast. Dictating tempo is easier said than done. And what I think you saw with Arkansas was Oakland was kind of dictating the tempo. They had the longest average offensive possession length in the country. Their offensive possessions last 22 seconds every time they come down the floor on average. And that includes, if you think about it, like transition opportunities. When you get the break, it's a possession. It's like 3 seconds and you lay it up. They really, really grind it out. And unless you're forcing a bunch of turnovers, it's just going to naturally be a slow-paced game. So I thought Arkansas did a good job of being opportunistic, taking the break when they had to. And then after that stretch midway through the first half, when they just kept turning it over, they did a really good job against a matchup zone defense, which has been an Achilles heel for this team. They were moving the ball. They had cutters that they were finding. Then they started getting open threes because of that, and they were knocking them down. So I thought they did a nice job there. We talked a lot about Boogie Fland. It's hard not to. Adu Thero, I thought he did a really good job early. He had 2 and 1s right away to kind of set the tone of physicality on the offensive end in the paint for Arkansas. And I didn't have so much on the defensive end, but he played a really nice game. Carter Knox, this is big. John L. Davis doesn't play. His wrist is still sore 2 weeks later. The pregame radio broadcast, by the way, said they anticipate or they're hopeful that he's going to play Saturday against Tennessee. Well, I hope so too, but I'm not believing anything they say until I see him out there. I mean, this is ridiculous at this point, but there's always a silver lining to be found in misfortune. And it was an opportunity for Carter Knox to wiggle his way into that rotation a little bit deeper. And I thought that this was by far his best and most complete game he's played as a Razorback. 17 points, knocked down 3 open threes. That's all I've been asking.
Yeah.
Just knock down the wide open threes, brother. I know you can. He did in this game. He had 3 rebounds, 2 assists, limited the turnovers, and I thought he really competed on the defensive end. That was good stuff from Carter Knox against a team that is better than Maryland Eastern Shore or whoever he flipped out on a few weeks ago.
Yeah, absolutely. I've said it a few times now with the 2 freshmen not named Boogie Fland. It's not like you need Carter Knox to, and I know he's a 5-star, so that changes the expectations. You expect big things, but it's not like Arkansas really needs him to be that guy. He doesn't need to be a go-to scorer by any means. And I think Billy Richmond as well. It's not like you're saying, hey, Billy, we got to have X, Y, and Z out of you tonight. You're just looking for a spark from either one of those guys. Both were able to provide that spark. And if Nelly Davis is going to be out for even a few more games, Carter Knox, all of a sudden, what they're asking of him is going to go up. So yeah, what a perfect time for him to really get it going. I feel a lot more confident about Carter and just his ability to provide Arkansas with that spark. He's going to have some games where he doesn't have it. It's just how it works for freshmen. I'm sure he's going to have a come down to earth here at some point, but I think these minutes that he's been getting with John L. Davis out have been really key for him and his development. And I mean, you're just kind of at that point where we're getting into January. You're still a freshman, but in this league, you got to grow up quick. And it's good to see him starting to make some of those strides. We'll see if he's able to carry it into SEC play. But yeah, I think that's massive. And I think it really helps having these older guards like DJ. I mean, I know Boogie's not an older guard. He's 17 years old. But just having these guys that kind of set the tone, and those younger guys in Billy and Richmond and Carter Knox are able to kind of play off of them. I think that's huge. But yeah, I mean, with Carter, it looked like Oakland just didn't have him on their scouting report for times. I mean, he was wide open on a couple of those. There was one point, I think the last bucket he drove and just nobody helped off of their defender. They were just like, let's just let him go ahead and do that. I think that's huge for Carter Knox, especially if he's going to end up playing 20, 25 minutes. SEC teams need to know, hey, we can't just have this be a guy we don't guard. We're not going to be 4-on-5 here on the defensive end. I think just him showing that threat, showing that capability is massive. And we've talked a lot about Arkansas's 3-point shooting. Another game, they're 10 for 22. Carter Knox, what a huge time for him to go 3 for 5 with Nelly out. Because again, if you had told me that Nelly Davis is going to be out a couple weeks ago, I'd have been like, dude, who's going to knock down threes for Arkansas? But they've really settled in. I mean, it seems like every game they go exactly around this exact margin of like 9 for 21, 10 for 22, 9 for 23, 8 for 21. They're so consistent with their shot selection. We always say they use the term identity, whether it's football, basketball, whatever. We want teams to find their identity. I feel like on the offensive side of the floor, Arkansas has really found a nice identity, which is impressive because they haven't been playing with a consistent 5-6 guys. Like they've had guys in, guys out. Jonas Adu comes in. He just fits right in. He's looking for a shot. How about that little mid-range shot that Jonas Adu knocked down? Just confidently.
I was so happy.
Love that. I know he shot those at Tennessee, but like we haven't really seen much of that out of Jonas Adu. But it seems like everyone on this team has a very good understanding of what they bring to the table and what they can do to help this team win. And they're all kind of pitching in. You're starting to see some of those capabilities for all these guys. I feel like offensively, Arkansas is a lot more ahead of schedule than they typically are this time of year. And I guess I should also point out the last few years is with as much success as Arkansas's had, these have been very mediocre offensive teams. So you can really make an argument. This is the best offense we've seen from a Razorback basketball team in 5 or 6 years, probably. You'd probably have to go back to that Mason Jones, Isaiah Joe team from Muss's first year, and they sucked on defense. And so it's like this is it's really cool to see an Arkansas team showing capability of all 3 levels, being able to knock down shots. And I just really like the way that this team plays together, the way that they're cutting, the way that they're looking for each other. Could always be better. There's always times where, maybe he missed that guy cutting, but I feel like this team does a pretty good job of playing as a unit on the offensive end of the floor.
Yeah, Carter Knox growing up, that's a big development here for Arkansas. He's always had the talent out there, but it's not just him looking lost out there and on the floor at times, which happened early in the season, so much as Arkansas would look lost as a team, like as a collective unit when he was out there on the floor. And that's it's like the you're only as strong as your weakest link kind of thing. And it showed, and that was not the case at all. Like I thought they had really good flow with what they were trying to do on both ends of the floor tonight, which is good. Multiple times, I don't know if you caught this or not, Pat Bradley on the broadcast mistook Carter Knox for a Adu Thero. That's a good person to be mistaken for if you're Carter Knox, because Adu Thero is a grown man. And that's the thing about Carter is for a while there, he looked like Tarzan and plays like Jane, because he's like 6'6", 220 pounds, looks like a big time SEC wing, and he just wasn't doing anything out there. And both of the times that I heard that mistake happen, it was Carter Knox making plays on the defensive end of the floor. Again, a comparison and a mistake that you want to be made. If they think you look like that dude, that's a good guy to role model yourself after. So really, really good to see from that standpoint. Billy Richmond, quietly just continues to go about his business too. He's had quite the resurgence here. I like Billy a lot, man. He's so disruptive and impactful. And honestly, in the first half, it was one of those things again where Arkansas kind of looked like crap for a while there. But Billy Richmond didn't. And he was the guy diving on the floor for loose balls, coming up with tie-ups that would wind up giving you possession back, crashing the offensive glass. He was doing all those little things. So, yeah, both of those guys getting comfortable at the right time, because you're going to need all 9 of them once you get into SEC play. And that is now. There are no more tune-ups. It gets real from here.
I mean, we could literally go through every player on the roster, and they've all made huge plays on the defensive end for Arkansas. Once again tonight, I mean, you finished with 10 blocks total, 6 of those coming from Trevin, and 8 steals. They weren't even as disruptive as they normally are, but it seems like every game they're just going to reach a quota of whether it's deflections or steals, blocks, or just contested shots. Like, it just seems like everyone is willing to pitch in. And I mean, Arkansas, at times everyone gets cooked at some point or another on defense, but it does seem like Arkansas defensively, the way that they played in the second half, man, it was pretty encouraging. I guess, are you at all concerned I mean, I guess you probably are with the front court, with the way that Arkansas's front court, you know, they haven't really faced teams that have been able to really pressure them and at the rim the way that Oakland randomly did in the first half. Like in SEC play, when they face some real front courts, do you feel like they're going to be able to hold up?
I'm not worried about Arkansas's front court. We weren't worried about them after they were the more physical and better group against Michigan, not too long ago. It's a game by game thing for me. And I really do think that there was just such an emphasis on running those dudes off the 3-point line that it was, hey, win your one-on-one matchup in the paint. And they didn't as well as they should have. But there's also something to be said for the type of bigs that they were playing. I said this in the pregame, if people listen to the preview that I put out there, and it was, these guys are different than what you're going to see in the SEC, because in the SEC, you're going to see other guys who are skilled and athletic and above the rim type guys. You're not going to see the dudes who are 6'6", 250 pounds that look like NFL defensive ends, and they will put their ass into your thighs, into your rib cage, and they're going to back you down. They're going to seal. They're going to post. It's old school, almost like YMCA basketball in there. And that's an adjustment that Arkansas needed to make. And they did throughout the course of the game. It got better in the second half. Also, I was wondering at what point, because I understand you've got the length and the height advantage. And so what they were trying to do is say, hey, just use that and wall up and get tall. But they were getting back down underneath the rim, and then they were bringing help from the weak side. So you had two guys who were underneath the rim trying to challenge. If I was Arkansas in this situation, I would have been denying more those easy entry passes and saying, hey, lob it over the top of me, and I'm still going to have another guy coming weak side. I was kind of surprised they didn't make that adjustment, but I just think it's different. And I think that a decent amount of it was game plan specific. I'm really anxious to hear what Cal says about this in the post game. I have a feeling he's going to say, hey, they beat us from the 3-point line at Kentucky last year. Damn it, it wasn't going to happen in this game. So we were going to live with whatever happened in the post. Does it need to be better? They need to be more physical? I think so. But big picture, I'm really not sweating it.
I think that's a good point in terms of the losing your individual matchup one-on-one, which is going to happen to every single player on the floor at one point or another.
You would remember Jalen Williams?
Right. You would much rather have that than the team breakdown and, oh, we're not in the right position, and, oh, the ball's just moving too fast and we can't keep up. It does seem like Arkansas a lot of times on defense when they're struggling, it's just guys hitting shots, guys beating them one-on-one, which again is going to happen. It's going to happen in SEC play. It's going to happen again in all these matchups. But I do feel like there is a lot more just, it's not a connective tissue issue for offense or for Arkansas on the defensive end for sure.
And Adu didn't play well tonight, and I don't think that's going to be a frequent thing with, I guarantee you that he's a lot better against his former team over the weekend. He didn't look that good, and he got benched.
I was about to say, did they start the second half with TB?
They did. Yeah. They started TB over him in the second half. And I have a feeling that it was hey dude, like, what are you doing right now kind of thing, because he was getting worked in there in the post early in that game. And I think it was like a combination of things. He made an adjustment to the physicality on the block. And then big fella just started attacking him with them YMCA moves from the elbow. And like those, like they're not SEC, 5-star blue chip caliber dudes, but those two big guys were, they're pretty good, man.
It is weird how like you see a guy like Big Z struggle against Oakland, and you're like, man, if he's struggling against Oakland, he's going to really struggle in the SEC. But to your point you were making earlier, like he's actually a better matchup for some of these teams in the SEC that have a more traditional big man, because you're able to stretch him out a little bit. Like there's just different skill sets. And so it's like Big Z, I understand he was not good tonight, and he's had a little weird stretch. Ever since he got back from injury, was at an ankle or whatever, hasn't really been the same guy. And who knows if he's making progress, if he's making, going towards that. But don't sell your Big Z stock just yet. I understand everybody's mad at him. I understand, he wasn't good tonight, but he is good. His day will come.
Yeah, I believe that. There are going to be some games where he's, borderline unplayable. And this is one of them. I thought this was going to be a decent matchup for him because it was a slower game. And he was still going to be a foot taller than anybody else out there. But the physicality just wasn't working for him in this one. He's going to have to figure it out for sure. I mean, they need all three of those guys to be pretty good for him. There's no doubt about that. But what I will say to people who are freaking out about that, because a lot of folks are like, oh, the SEC, when they get into the SEC, Here's my challenge. Take Janai Broom out of the equation, and then without looking it up, I would like somebody to give me 3 SEC centers that are worth a damn.
Yeah.
And then, you know what I mean? Like they'll be okay. I think so. At any rate, anything else we want to touch on before we get into the chat? I'm trying to think if,
you know how I like to monitor the like chat arguments that break out?
Yeah.
It appears that Boogie Fland hooked up with someone's girlfriend because, guys really mad in here about people saying Boogie Fland is good. And then there was a Boogie Fland versus Anthony Black debate that broke out, which why are we putting two kings against one another? Why can't we just appreciate greatness whenever it comes our way? Why are we angry on a Monday night after a 30-point win against Oakland? What are we mad about? Seriously.
Are we really mad at Boogie?
No, dude, this dude is livid at Boogie Fland. Like I'm talking about, he's had like 12 comments yelling at Boogie.
I mean, he was fantastic in the second half. I don't know what the issue is there.
I think it's more about someone said he was better than Anthony Black, and I think that's what set him off. Maybe.
As a college basketball player, he is better than Anthony Black. As a long-term prospect, I don't know that that's the case.
They're not really. I know that they are technically kind of both point guards, although Anthony Black not really a point guard. More of like a 2-guard, like a combo guard type of guy. And apparently, according to Jeff Goodman, Boogie Fland's not a point guard either. But they're just completely different players. Like I don't know if they share any 2 skill sets. You know what I mean? Like
that is a really hard comp to make. So.
Yeah, I mean, like Boogie's obviously a much more dynamic and a better shooter, outside shooter. Very different body types. I would say. I mean, they're just different guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Way more efficient so far in terms of. I mean, his assist numbers are way higher. His turnovers are way lower.
Yeah.
But AB impacted the game so much differently defensively. Mm-hmm. And Boogie's good on that end of the floor, but. It's tough with a couple different types of players there. So, all right. Yeah. This dude's getting on my nerves. I'm seeing it now. How about this? Take a break.
Got him out of there? Yeah, got him out of there.
Take a break, dude. Stop spamming. This is crazy. Think about it. Take a few deep breaths and then come back and talk to us rationally and turn your damn caps lock off. What are you doing? Let's see. Caden Jowers, he says, Boogie just hit another 3. Exactly. That's not good enough for this mellow guy, but it's good enough for me. Okay, 5 for 8 from 3 is pretty nasty work.
I'll say this. Does Boogie have the best shot selection among great 3-point shooters? Like, if I were as good of a shooter as Boogie Fland, I mean, obviously, I'm an idiot. But I feel like most guys, like, if they were as good of a shooter as Boogie Fland is, they would be letting that sucker fly just early, often. He'll be like 4 for 7. 5 for 8, 3 for 5. Like he just consistently takes great shots from 3, man. It's crazy.
Yeah. And I tell you what, if you let him get to that right hand and take 2 dribbles and pull up from about 15 to 17 feet, it's automatic. But he makes that shot almost every time he takes it. It's good stuff. Okay. This is something I wanted to discuss. Boogie Fland Burner says Carter Knox made a case to take the starting job from Nelly. I don't know if Carter Knox would be the guy that I would say that about yet, although he played really well in this. Like, I think this is his best game as a Razorback. I'm not opposed to the idea of 6-man John L. Davis. I think what I would do is probably go with TB at the 4, Thero at the 3, and then I would go with then I would go with Boogie and DJ.
I'm also not opposed to Nelly coming off the bench. I mean, obviously, we reference his FAU tournament run so often. He was coming off the bench for that 6-man of the year, all that. And again, if he's going to play in the next level, he's going to be a spark plug off the bench type of guy. So I don't think he would even be super opposed to it. I just hope that we're not confusing this for a thing where Nelly Davis is not going to be a high minute, like very involved in everything. And of course, we're referring to a healthy Nelly Davis, one that's playing well, one that's locked in. And we'll see what his role ends up looking like when he comes back from, to full health here. But if he's coming off the bench, I think it's like a Dillingham, Reed Shepherd type of thing. Like I hope people, I know sometimes people do that whole thing where it's like, who's your starting 5? And like, it has to be the 5, that means those are your 5 guys. If Nelly's coming off the bench, I still want him playing more minutes than whoever it is, whether it's TB or whether it's Carter Knox, whoever. Like, if Arkansas is going to reach their ceiling as a team, you're going to need Nelly giving you 25 to 30 minutes.
Yeah, no, I agree with that completely. I was going to say, you made the good comp there with Robin Reed. I was going to say it needs to be like when JD Notae was coming off the bench, like it's that kind of thing. I kind of like the idea of the, like just the guy who comes in and your job is to come in for the second unit and just hunt your shot. Because that's what I want him to do. Maybe that's what would get him over the hump in terms of just being a little bit more aggressive. And he has been from three, but there hasn't really been much in between. So I wouldn't mind seeing that. But yeah, I mean, hell, Carter, he played really well in this game. What is that now? 3 or 4 games in a row where he's scored in double figures. And the thing is, like in those previous games, he was just really inefficient in doing so. And then this game, he's 6 of 8 and 3 of 5. So if he can start being a little bit more efficient in getting those buckets, and he limited the defensive breakdowns in this game and then was really impactful also on that end of the floor, hey, fine by me. I mean, I'm the one that said he was going to be the SEC Freshman of the Year, so I need him to be good so I don't look like an idiot. That's not going to happen, him be SEC Freshman of the Year. But if he emerges as a starter on this team and puts Nelly Davis on the bench, and I can at least pat myself on the back a little bit for that prediction. So
you like him, big boy, and that white boy? You just ripped it from him, just bullied him. I've been that white boy plenty of times in my life where I just like the guy can sense it. It's like they can smell blood. They're like, this guy's not confident in his dribble. He's not confident handling the ball. It's like, I love that Carter Knox was bullying another guy.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Jaron Garcia says 3J Wagner. Yeah, it's just a thing now. He will henceforth be referred to as 3J instead of DJ. Quiet game. He got in a little bit of foul trouble towards the end of the first half. But then, yeah, you look up 2 of 5 from 3. What is that? 40%. What is he? A 40% 3-point shooter. It's just what he does.
The sample size is getting pretty big, dude. He's just a good 3-point shooter.
Yeah, he is. That's of one of the very positive developments for Arkansas this season. It's been the 3-point shot. And I thought Pat Bradley made a good point about that too. He was like, hey, somebody better let Oakland know you can't go under on DJ Wagner anymore. You can't do it. It's true. He'll make you pay.
Off the dribble 3. Yeah. And I really don't know if he's hit many of those this year. Seeing that one early off the dribble in rhythm, just confident. Love to see that. Yeah.
Matt Washington says Big Z is our 9th man. I mean,
kind of, yeah.
Right now, yeah. He's definitely he's at the bottom of the pecking order in the front court. Yeah, man. I hope he gets it going. He looks like a shell of the player that we saw early in the season. I think he's a very confidence-driven guy too. It's almost like he needs something good to happen early when he gets into the game. I noticed he didn't get in for like the first 10 minutes or so. Like it was a minute to the point where I was about to text you and say, is he even available tonight? Because they put Trevin in at the 5. And I was like, I don't know what's going on here, but they need to get him going. He is now, one of his last 11 from 3. But the main thing for me is he's just got to stop being so careless with the ball. Yeah. He makes he's just very, very casual and careless with it. And some of his turnovers are really bad. Catching it in the post or getting rebounds and just not being strong with it, getting it poked out. It just happens way too often.
When he's in the middle of that zone and he catches the ball, he's always a candidate to have it ripped from him. Yep. I actually saw they had it on TV the moment Cal told him to go in for the first time. It was after when Oakland had like 4 straight buckets at the rim, and I think they honestly might have been a DNP coach's decision if Adu had showed up and played really well in that first half. Because I think he was just one of those things. But then their rim protection was so bad. I think they were like, maybe Big Z can get in there and alter a shot or two. We'll just see.
Yeah. And he did block a shot on his first defensive possession. Because I wrote that down. I was like, oh, okay, maybe this will get him going. And then he picked up 2 quick fouls and throwing it all over the place. And we'll see. The Tennessee game is going to be interesting because a lot of folks think about Tennessee and they think about big, strong, physical, tough offensive rebounding team. And they do a lot of those things, but this is not the same type of front court that Rick Barnes has had in the past. Like they've got the Akpara kid who's, he's a big physical dude for sure. But then outside of that, they got kind of a couple stretch guys, and it's not, it's not typical. It's a little bit of a different look for a Rick Barnes team. They're still very good, but this might be a game he can actually play in. We'll see.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, going through some of the things we started. We talked about some physicality in the post. Big Salty Hog says Boogie's the best point guard that's come through Fayetteville. Curtis, tell me I'm wrong. I don't have to. Melo already did. Okay?
I was gonna say, I think actually that might be the comment that that started the whole thing. Which, by the way, he has since returned from timeout.
Good,
hey, buddy. Like, we're doing a post game show. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. We're trying to do a post game show.
Is that Jeff Goodman's burner? Is that what's going on?
I might be. I don't know. Melo from 501 though. Maybe. I mean, Jeff Goodman's got shooters all over the country. Who knows?
That's right. That's right. Lance Walker says, did AD get hurt, just tired, or a better matchup for Thero and Brazil? I liked when they switched Thero over onto 23. He did a better job with the physicality there. Brazil definitely wasn't a better matchup on paper for these guys, but I mean, I think he just kind of was tonight. How many minutes did? Yeah, AD only played 16 minutes. He just didn't have it. Maybe he had the flu or something. I don't know. Yeah, he looked off in this game compared to what we've seen so far, and could just be a bad night.
Yeah, he's had a couple of moments, even in the games that he's played well here lately, where like he like expends a lot of energy, and then you can kind of tell that he's not like fully all the way back yet. So man, I was like a little concerned that tonight seemed like a potential step back, but also like I'm not going to lose too much sleep over it. You know, these are when you're a big guy, it's just really hard to be consistently like the same level of athlete game to game.
Yeah, for sure. This should be fun. Micah, appreciate you for the super chat for sure. He says better Frosh at this point, Fland or AB.
I think people are misremembering how much Anthony Black was the lead creator on that team.
Yeah.
At least in terms of like setting up the offense and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because he played off ball a good bit and he was damn good at it. But it was a little bit different.
Yeah. Thinking about just like their individual non-conferences, it's so tough. But, you know, like AB, he really struggled to get his scoring going early, but he was doing a little bit of everything else. And he had the breakout in where the hell were they? Maui. He was really, really good there. Boogie's been a little bit more consistent. AB wound up shooting it okay from three, but he's nowhere near the 3-point shooter. It's just their skill sets are just like their strengths and weaknesses are so much different. It's hard to say now. I just like, I don't like Fland's not going to go in the top. What was AB drafted 6 or 7?
I think he was a 6th overall pick.
Yeah. Like Boogie's not going to go that high. I don't think it's because he's not skilled. He's just not, he's not a 6'7", 200-pound, you know, lead guard like that. So he just doesn't have the measurables to do that, but he's going to be a first round pick for sure.
I liked what you said about Boogie being the better college player and AB being the better long-term prospect, which I think is
where I'm at.
Probably fair. I mean, and Anthony Black's what is he, 6'7"?
Yeah,
6'7". He's a much more like pro-ready body that you can see playing defending multiple positions, a little bit more versatility there. But yeah, I don't know. They're just very different players. Like it's really tough to compare. But I would say Boogie has a chance. And again, we haven't played a single SEC game, so it's like who knows? He might just get clamped in the SEC, and then we'll be like, oh well, actually maybe AB was better. But I think Boogie might be the better freshman, but I think AB is probably the better long-term prospect. He's having a really nice sophomore NBA season.
Yeah, he is. Joe is not happy. He says we're soft in the paint and slow to guard the three. Well, they were soft in the paint tonight.
Right?
Yeah, they limited Oakland to roughly half the amount of 3-point attempts that they've taken a typical game. They only allowed 2 makes. So, and I don't remember a lot of wide open looks for Oakland. So I don't know how slow Arkansas was to the 3-point line in this game. The soft in the paint, I'll give you tonight. I mean, they give up 42 paint points to Oakland. There's no denying it. But again, it's one game out of a 13-game sample size. And did y'all feel that way after they went up against Vlad Golden and Danny Wolf and Cheddar and all those guys over at Michigan? I didn't. I thought they were plenty physical in that game. So, you know, if it was like a pattern or a trend or a recurring theme or whatever with this front court all at full strength, and I'd probably be concerned about it. Right now, I'm just going to chalk it up as a one-off until I'm proven wrong.
It's also easier to do that when they made so much progress in the second half. I mean, you mentioned the 42 paint points, and literally 30 of those came in the first half. It was really rough in that first half. But then, you know, they tightened up a lot. I mean, they finished Oakland in the second half only scored 23 points total. And so it's like, you know, it would be a lot easier to be concerned about this if it played out in the second half. But I mean, they tightened up a decent amount. Still some concern there, but I think they're it's fine.
Yeah. Arkansas did block 10 shots in this game. That's quite a bit.
That is a lot.
Let's see. Hunter McLaren says, is DJ Wagner a lockdown defender or what? His importance to this team reminds me of Devo's importance to the team in 2022. I'm glad you were specific to the year for him. But no, I feel you. He is. I mean, he's a really good defender. He's got good instincts. He moves well laterally. And he's just a physical guard. What I love the most about him is you might screen him, but you're going to pay for it. Like he blows up screens, man, and gets through them in a way that a lot of guards can't. Like, you know, some guys are super slippery and they're able to really quickly just like slide over the top or get underneath quick, like Boogie can. He's really good at that. DJ will just run through you like a freight train. He doesn't care. And I appreciate that about him quite a bit. But yeah, he's a really good defender, man. I got to give him credit for that.
DJ, the thing that sticks out to me is his just confidence on both sides of the ball, and the confidence that he shows offensively with his 3-point shot, of course. But I think also just his ability to thrive in his role is just something that I don't know if I was super confident that he was going to be able to do as a, you know, third, fourth option. But on the defensive end, he's awesome. That confidence is over there too. You mentioned how, you know, you try to screen him and you're going to pay for it. Like he's just a very well-rounded, I mean, all around, like there's not really a weakness in his game at this point. You know, I feel like he's rounded out his game. He's just taken those strides from year one to year two. Just seems a lot more confident and decisive in everything that he does. He's fun to watch, and he's definitely important for this team. He's a much better overall player than Devo ever was. Like I know that may sound controversial. Like it's I mean, he just is.
Yeah, no, I mean it's very true. Very, very true. Red Nasty, I hope you're right. He says Adu will play his best game at Tennessee. Now, you said Adu, so I'm guessing you're talking about Thero, but then again, you might be talking about Jonas Adu.
I feel like he meant Adu.
Why not both? Why not both?
Shout out to the Mexican girl on the taco night, you know?
Yeah, that's exactly right, man. And they're both going to need to. You know, it's a really, really tough place to play. But Tennessee, probably further along than Arkansas right now, but they are not a perfect basketball team. They've got holes. They were trailing in the second half in their own building against Middle Tennessee the other day. I watched them in person. You know, they were getting pushed for a while in the second half by Miami. Like they're undefeated, but they're beatable. So I'm going to be really, really anxious to see that. This is the kind of game historically that John Calipari really has his teams ready to play in. I don't know that that's going to equate to a win, but you know, like if people are thinking that, you know, like Arkansas has kind of been up and down, they haven't been healthy. Yeah, they're going to go over to Tennessee and get the hell beat out of them. I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're going to have a really good game over there on Saturday, and I'm looking forward to it. And if Arkansas wins, y'all can't tell me nothing. Nobody can. The rest of the year,
nobody will be able to tell anybody in the state of Arkansas anything, man. If they go out there and beat Tennessee, man, BBN's going to be in shambles.
Yeah, and they also only have 8 scholarship players right now. Tennessee.
By the way, he did just clarify Jonas Adu.
Jonas Adu. Okay.
But he also spelled it the Jonas Adu Thero. Like he spelled it again. But
that's why I've started doing Thero for everything. Like
right. I think I could tell when he mentioned Tennessee, like I just figured I was like, it's, you know, revenge game type of thing. Although it doesn't seem like that's really a thing with Jonas Adu. Like he's going into this like I'm gonna get my get back on Tennessee. Like I think he probably thinks about his time in Knoxville pretty fondly, right?
One would think so. Do you think that he was just looking ahead to this game, so he just was like keeping gas in the tank tonight?
That's what it was. Good point.
I think that's what it was. You know, just that explains everything.
You can't take the Ferrari out the garage every night. You know.
Yeah, that's right.
When by the Ferrari, I mean your knees.
One Sick Pig, we appreciate you for the super chat. Thank you. He says Billy Richmond gives me 90s Razorbacks nostalgia. Yeah, he's that kind of guy, man, for sure. He's that kind of player. The things that he does are just so endearing to Razorback fans because he just gets nasty with it. He makes those plays that don't show up in the box score. And he really is following that freshman Devo arc of he just does all the other things that they're just contagious and you keep doing them over and over. And it's just impossible to not put you on the floor a little bit more because of the impact that it makes. I agree. I think he's doing a lot of those things.
He's awesome, dude. That 90-second sequence that he had in the last two minutes where he was like he was like disrupting things on the defensive end and then somehow also disrupting things on the offensive end. Like he was like just all it was like overload, Billy Richmond overload. But man, he's just a lot of fun. He's got so much energy. He's one of those guys where like, if you're playing pickup and there's that one guy that checks in and is just like playing way harder and you're like, dude, relax. It's freaking pickup. He kind of has that energy in actual basketball games where everyone should be playing hard. He's that guy where he's like, everyone's kind of looking around like, come on, relax, guy. Like, we don't need to play that hard.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that was a crazy sequence, man. Boogie Fland lobs it off of the backboard and Billy just takes it from Thero and dunks it, which was awesome in the air. I wish they both, if all four hands would have touched that basketball and they both dunked it, do they get 4 points? Who do you give the dunk to? Like, what would have happened there? But Billy Richmond just yanked that sucker, man. And that was awesome. And then, they got out in transition. He was like dribbling it with his knees. I don't even know what was going on. But then after that turnover and he had the chase down, that was a fairly clean block. He might've got some body or whatever, but he went up there above the rim and challenged that thing. That was really good stuff from Billy Richmond. I appreciated that. Let's see. Another super chat. Thank you from Lance. He says, so how does Adu in Arkansas fare against Tennessee? BBN, no comment needed from you. Yeah. BBN's got to worry about Florida. Isn't that their first SEC game? I think
that should be a good game.
That should be a good game. And we kind of touched on this already. Tennessee only had 11 scholarship players coming into the season. And they had one dude who literally just quit, just didn't say anything to anybody and just left the team. They had a post player who blew out his knee, so he's out for the year. And they got another guy who's out right now with something. I think it was like upper body, maybe it's a wrist or a hand or something. So they're down to 8 scholarship guys, and Arkansas's, like they've got their 9-man rotation. We'll see if all of them play, but neither team is going to have a lot of depth there. It's going to be an interesting game. I really do think it's going to be a good one, though. I think we're going to have a battle here. I'd love to do the homer thing and be like, Arkansas is going to walk in there and win. I need to see Arkansas win at Thompson Bowling to really, to really believe it. But I think they're going to battle. I think they're going to be in position to get it done. We'll see if it actually happens.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing I just keep coming back to. One, I've penciled this game in as a loss, like dating back to when the schedule released, like just the day we found out they were opening conference play at Tennessee. I just assumed all time Arkansas's 4-16 in Knoxville. And for their last win, you have to go back a good bit. You'd have to go back to 16-17, the last time that they won in Knoxville, a long time ago. It's going to be a tough one. But man, what a way. I think it's one of those games that I think you just go into and it's like, again, like I said, I've kind of chalked it up as a loss. If they lose, you have a built-in excuse on the road, Tennessee, top team in the country, you're good. But man, if you win, that's the type of thing that can really kickstart this thing. Then all of a sudden you'd have a bunch of national guys that have to really shut the hell up for a while. That happened.
Yeah, that's 100% true, man. As long as they don't go over there and get their butts kicked, this is going to be a good thing for Arkansas either way. Like going on the road and playing that game is going to help your metrics and your strength of schedule and all that anyway. You go over there and have a good showing. It's going to help. It's going to increase your perception. You go over there and win. Whew. I mean, hell, we'll have plenty of time to talk about that the next few days here, but would be a pretty solid week to get a 30-point win over Oakland and go beat the number 1 team in the country on the road. So everybody who's maybe a little irritated about the perception of Arkansas or, oh, why aren't they ranked higher? What's wrong with the net? Hey, win one more game this week and you take care of all that. So that maybe they should just go ahead and do that. Lance Walker, the man, says, y'all have a beer on me. We will. Thank you. Might even get one of those fancy beers. Just get a Coors.
I mean, hell, depending on where we're getting our beers from, for $20, so we could sneak a few in there.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, if we got one at Bud Walton, we'd have to split it or something. But like it's a normal establishment, we'd be taken care of. So
let's split a beer at the Ole Miss game.
I think we should. Yeah,
Wednesday night. Yeah, let's do it.
There we go. Witty also in here with the super chat. Appreciate you and good to see you again, my friend. He says, "Someone help me to my bed." Okay, we'll put you on our shoulders and take you there, buddy. Don't you worry. Do we have any clips?
We do have clips.
Okay.
Let's play a game here, Curtis.
Okay.
I'm going to read you a few titles. You get to tell me which one you want to hear from.
Okay.
0 performance, 3-point shooting. Boogie's second half performance. We should not do that one, even though it's a shorter one. We're not going to do that because it'll anger the chat. Let's see. SEC play in the league, 114. Or
I definitely want to hear that one.
116. Let's hear the SEC play one real quick.
Yeah, let's do that.
Here's what I'd say about the league. You could win 7 league games and go 7-11. How many of those would be quad 1? 6? Right? And plus the Michigan. So you have 7 quad 1 wins. Wait a minute. There are other teams that they got 24 wins. Yeah, but none of them are quad 1s. So that's the thing about this league. Take care of business. Coach your team, whether they're playing well or not. You got to stay with them and bust through. Like our first 3 games are ridiculous. We could be a top 20 team and go 0-3. I mean, so you just keep coaching. You keep going. You keep doing it. But there are really good teams in this league. And that's what you always want, to have a league top to bottom that's that way. Is it only top to bottom for us? No, it's everybody. Don't worry just about us. You got the same games we got. Some of you even have a harder schedule than we got. So, should be interesting.
I love that.
We've done the thing where we kind of like poke fun at how Cal does the like Dora the Explorer level of like, where are we playing the game Saturday? What is it? He slipped like 3 of those into a 1 minute and 14-second clip where he's just like, how many quad 1 wins is that? 7? Is it just top to bottom for us? Like, just asking. Dude's awesome.
Love that.
You just keep coaching.
He's right. When he's saying like, hey, you go 7-11 in this league, a lot of times it's like an automatic, have fun in the NIT. It's just not true this season in the SEC. And, like I told you guys, but I did the tourney simulator, and it's just like, it's a computer algorithm thing, but they do it based on 1,000 simulations that they put through their system. And a 7-11 Arkansas team is still an 11 seed in the NCAA tournament, according to 1,000 simulations. So like,
Do you think he cited that 7-11 thing because he's been watching your videos?
I'm pretty sure that's the case. I don't think it's him, but I bet you Brad. Yeah, he probably watches some of that stuff. Like Chin Coleman strikes me as maybe a listener of the Pot at the Palace. I don't know. Like some of those guys maybe have probably picked up on that, and maybe the team does. I don't know. But no, in all seriousness, it'd be awesome if he did. He's like, that was such a
listening to number. Yeah. And I was like, Curtis has been hammering this 7-11, how that would actually be a cool thing. And I know that's not what you've been saying, but like you've cited that specific thing multiple times where I was like, that had to be on purpose. I know we've kind of moved past the Oakland portion of this post-game show. We started talking about Oakland like 40, but I'm told that this is a funny clip that we need to, that is worth it.
And I said, Greg, you just beat me in the NCAA tournament. Now you want to beat me again? But he said, Cal, I really need the game. He's a friend. Okay. But all day today and yesterday, I'm thinking, why did I do this? But you know what? It was a good game for us. We had to play against zone. And every game you play in the preseason is to prepare you for league play. So now if someone throws a zone at us, I'm feeling pretty comfortable.
I'm feeling pretty comfortable with the zone too. He's, in a lot of ways, he's right about this game. I do think it's important, the Oakland factor of all this, just with Cal and some of those guys, because they're not gonna sneak up on you, right? Like there's just gonna be a natural, hey, we've got a little bit more of a chip on our shoulder for this one. Had that not been the case, I would have really, really questioned Arkansas putting Oakland where they did on the schedule, because those post-Christmas games, you've had a break, a layoff. It's the last non-conference before you go play Tennessee to open SEC play. There's just so many reasons to come out a little bit flat and sloppy. And then you play a team that plays so slow and they grind it out and then they zone you. And it's just like naturally kind of a boring game. There was a recipe there for this to go sideways, and we kind of saw that in the first half. I'm glad they figured it out. And I'm also glad that he made the little quip there about the tournament loss. So that was pretty good stuff.
Yeah, coaches have a real unique knack to like convince themselves and their teams and media and fans alike that whatever test they're facing is like the toughest test of all time. So I just love the idea that he's like in his car going to work this morning and he's like, God, why have I signed up? Stop giving me your toughest battles. And God's like, it's literally just Oakland. Literally just a 4-9 Oakland team.
We had to play this game. We had to see a zone, even though every team we played has zoned us this year. Like, it's just...
I kind of thought that too. I'm glad you said that because I was kind of like, it's not the first time they've seen a zone this year.
Yeah, hell, Baylor zoned you for 40 minutes, but whatever. That was good stuff there. I see this one here. I just want to hear what he says, but maybe we got our answer on Jonas Adu. Maybe he was a little bit under the weather. Let's see about this one.
Probably shouldn't have played him under the weather. So if you wondered, I was trying to get him in and out. I'm just trying to get us going. We got to get Z going. But I'll tell you, we had a lot of good efforts today. And I'll say this, 21 assists. If we can keep passing the ball to each other, offensively, we become a pretty good team. Yes.
Okay, there you go. He was under the weather. I'm glad that after we were like, he just didn't have it tonight, that we eventually threw in there, maybe he had the flu. So there you go, because he definitely did not look like himself. And now I feel even better about Arkansas's front court moving forward because it wasn't just he just really sucked tonight. At least there was a reason. There's an excuse built in there. I'll take it.
I was gonna say, I was like, we'll accept any number of excuses. You just got to give the right one to us, and it has to sound good when you say it. And I am perfectly willing to chalk this one up, especially in which, by the way, this happened a lot where you kind of hint at it early in the show, and then we get the confirmation from Cal. That's pretty good.
I feel like he probably doesn't know this, but me and Cal are kind of in sync. I feel like we're on the same page right now, which is that's a good thing. It's a good thing for sure. Producer John Neighbors tells us that we need to play the clip about Boogie's second half performance. So I'm going to give that one a whirl. Apparently there's a decent little funny moment here.
His eye, he said, it was my eye in the first half. So I told him he needs to shoot like this the rest of the season then. So your eye in the second half just became better? They all laughed. I did say it in the huddle. He should shoot like that.
I do remember the moment where he got his eye poked.
Yeah. Well, and look, dude, some of those threes that Boogie took in the first half missed by like 4 feet. Like he had a couple that looked real. He had some of the worst shot attempts I've seen out of him. So once again, all you got to do is just give us the right excuse, and we can look past. And hell, it's a lot easier to accept it when you go out there and knock down 5 threes in the second half.
Yeah, no kidding, man. That's pretty good stuff there. Sounds like Cal was in his bag after this one. And
who was in their bag?
Who was in their bag?
John Neighbors.
John Neighbors
up the clips today. I mean, there's like, but we could literally sit here and play the entire Cal press conference cut up into segments for y'all. That's top-notch producer can do.
Yeah, he did a good job. There was a situation a few weeks back where John, he had the opportunity for his flu game. Like he just didn't have his best under the weather with his producing skills. But it was not a Michael Jordan flu game. It just wasn't his best. But you know what? He didn't let one bad performance lead to another. There was no domino effect. Washed it, got it out of his system. He's been dominant ever since. This was a great job. Great job.
He was watching the tape from that last one, motivating.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. Well, we've done it, Andrew. We've talked about Arkansas and Oakland on December 30th for 1 hour, and I'm proud of it. And I feel good about it. And it was a fun show.
It was a fun show, and it was a fun game too. It ended up being a really fun game. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't like buzzing today thinking about this game. I wasn't even buzzing for most of the time when I was watching the game, but that second half really moved the needle for me, and I had a lot of fun. It was cool to see Arkansas show that spurt ability, and there's a lot of work to be done. It's not over. We're not satisfied. Job's not finished, but I feel pretty good about this basketball team going into SEC play. I look forward to seeing them in a real tough battle, a game that they're going to get better in. I look forward to watching them play against the Vols. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, me too. And if you folks are all about making New Year's resolutions, make one for Arkansas basketball to just find good health in the second half of the season. They really, really need that. And then also from Whitty, we appreciate you. He says John is his hero. He ate 4 gummies to honor him. Make sure you check in with us tomorrow. Okay, let's just make sure that you've recovered from that experience. Maybe just give us a little bit of a rundown how you're doing. We'll open the phone lines on Inside Arkansas Live and let you call in and tell us all about it. How about that?
Definitely. That sounds good.
All right. Well, we're out of here, people. We really appreciate everybody for tuning in on a late night here, and wish everybody a happy new year, even though we will be live from noon to 1:30 for Inside Arkansas Live tomorrow. But thanks for rocking with us. It's been a lot of fun. We got a lot more to come. The fun is just getting started because SEC play begins on Saturday. So for Andrew Ellis, has been Curtis Wilkerson with Inside Arkansas and the Pod at the Palace. Y'all have a good night. We'll talk to you soon.